In this video, I want you to take a moment and truly imagine what it would feel like to start from absolute scratch. No savings to fall back on, no existing strategy to guide you, just your steady income and a completely blank slate. No spreadsheets, no safety nets, no idea where to begin. It might feel overwhelming, but that's exactly why I'm here. Think of this as your complete step-by-step money flow chart, a visual, practical roadmap designed to help you take full control of your finances, one intentional decision at a time. Whether you're just starting out or looking to reset your financial habits, this framework will give you the clarity and direction you need. For the average person, payday tends to look something like this. Their paycheck lands in their checking account, and from there, it slowly trickles out over the course of the following weeks with no real plan in place. There's no budget guiding the spending, no system tracking the outflows, and honestly, most people have very little idea where their money actually ends up. A little here, a little there, it all just seems to disappear. And that approach, it ends up hurting you more than you realize, often leaving you stressed, stuck in a cycle of living paycheck to paycheck, and wondering why you never seem to make progress. So, in today's video, we're going to flip the script entirely. We're going to talk about one of the most powerful, transformative concepts in personal finance: paying yourself first. Instead of letting your money control you, you'll learn how to take control of your money. I'll walk you through it in 7 simple, actionable steps that you can start applying immediately, no matter where you're starting from. Step number 1, build a fully funded emergency fund. If you followed my channel for a while, you already know how often I talk about the importance of an emergency fund. That's because it truly is the foundation of any solid financial plan, the non-negotiable first step before you even think about investing, traveling, or making any big purchases. An emergency fund is exactly what it sounds like: a dedicated pool of money set aside specifically for life's unexpected moments. We're talking about 3 to 6 months worth of essential living expenses, kept safe, separate, and completely off limits for anything other than true emergencies. The key here is that this money is for emergencies only, not for a spontaneous weekend trip, not for a new gadget, not for concert tickets, and definitely not for a shopping spree. True emergencies. Think job loss, unexpected medical bills, major car repairs, or urgent home fixes. So, if your monthly necessities like rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, transportation, and insurance add up to around $2,000, then your emergency fund target should be at least $6,000 in easily accessible cash. Of course, having more than that only adds to your peace of mind, but hitting that baseline is the first major milestone you need to reach before moving on to any other financial goal. This fund is your financial airbag. You hope you never need it, but you'll be incredibly grateful it's there when you do. As for where to keep this fund, I highly recommend a high-yield savings account. These accounts allow your money to grow with interest while staying completely liquid, meaning you can access it quickly and without penalties when an emergency strikes. Right now, there are plenty of great options out there. Some online banks like SoFi, Ally, or Marcus by Goldman Sachs are offering annual percentage yields as high as 4.00% or more, which is significantly higher than the near zero interest you'd get from a traditional brick and mortar bank. The most important thing to look for is FDIC insurance, which virtually all reputable banks provide, ensuring your money is protected up to $250,000 per depositor. That way, your emergency fund isn't just safe, it's also quietly working for you in the background. Step number 2, pay off any remaining high interest debt. Once your emergency fund is in place, the next priority is tackling high interest debt. In my view, anything with an interest rate above 15% qualifies as high interest debt. And this typically includes credit cards, some personal loans, and certain retail financing plans. I often get asked whether it's okay to invest while still carrying debt, and my answer depends entirely on the interest rate. If the rate is low, say a student loan under 5% or a 30-year mortgage in that same range, then investing alongside making minimum payments is perfectly reasonable. In fact, over the long term, the returns from a diversified investment portfolio often exceeds the cost of that low interest debt. But when it comes to high interest debt, the math changes completely. Paying it off quickly is almost always the smarter move because the interest you're accruing month after month will likely outpace anything you'd earn in the stock market. Carrying high interest debt is like swimming against a strong current. It drains your resources and keeps you from building real wealth. So, how should you go about paying it down? There are two popular, time tested strategies. The first is called the avalanche method. This approach prioritizes debts by their interest rate, highest to lowest. For example, imagine you have three types of debt: a car loan, credit card debt, and student loans. Let's say you owe $5,000 on each, with interest rates of 7% on the car, 20% on the credit card, and 5% on the student loans. With the avalanche method, you'd focus every extra dollar on the credit card first, making only the minimum payments on the other two. Once the credit card is paid off, you'd roll that payment amount into the car loan and finally the student loans. This strategy saves you the most money in interest over time, making it the most mathematically efficient approach. The second method is called the snowball method. According to research from two professors at Kellogg Business School, paying off smaller balances first can create a powerful psychological boost that keeps you motivated and consistent. With this approach, you list your debts from smallest to largest balance, regardless of interest rate. You make minimum payments on everything else while putting any extra money toward the smallest debt. Once that's paid off, you roll that payment amount into the next smallest, and so on. Each time you eliminate a debt, you gain momentum, and that sense of progress, of crossing a finish line, often helps people stick with their plan long term. Both methods work. The best one is simply the one you can commit to consistently. Step number 3 is to make any payments on the debts that you might owe. This is a critical piece of the financial flowchart that often gets overlooked in favor of the more exciting steps like investing, but it is absolutely essential for maintaining your financial health. This category includes student loan payments, auto loan payments, and even the minimum payments on your credit cards. Making at least the minimum payment here is non-negotiable because if you miss an on-time payment, your credit score will suffer, often significantly and immediately. Lenders report payment activity to credit bureaus regularly, and even a single late payment can linger on your credit report for up to 7 years. One thing that many people don't realize is that having a good credit score actually saves you a substantial amount of money in the long run. It's not just about bragging rights or qualifying for a credit card, it directly impacts the interest rates you'll be offered on major life purchases. When you go to buy a home or finance a vehicle, a higher credit score means you qualify for much lower rates on those bigger loans, like your mortgage. Over the life of a 30-year mortgage, the difference between a good interest rate and a fair one can add up to tens of thousands of dollars in extra interest payments. So protecting your credit score is essentially protecting your future wealth. Here's a handy little chart to put it into perspective. If you make 99% or more of your payments on time, that's considered good. If you hit 100%, that's excellent. But once you drop below 97%, meaning you miss just 3 out of every 100 payments, that's considered poor. To make it even more tangible, that means if you miss just 1 out of 20 payments, you are doing very poorly in the eyes of lenders. The credit scoring system in the US is incredibly sensitive to on-time payment history. It's the single largest factor in determining your score. If you're watching from another country, the specific scoring models may differ, but the universal principle remains the same. You want to make sure your debt is being paid off on time, every time, to maintain your financial stability and borrowing power. Step number 4 is to open and invest into a Roth IRA or individual retirement account. This is where we shift from defense, protecting yourself from emergencies and high-interest debt, to offense, actively building long-term wealth. The main advantage of a Roth IRA is that your earnings and profits grow completely tax-free. Let me emphasize that because it's one of the most powerful wealth building tools available to the average person. Unlike a standard brokerage account where you pay capital gains taxes on your profits, a Roth IRA allows you to invest your money, watch it compound over decades, and then withdraw that growth in retirement without owing a single dollar to the IRS. The other nice thing about the Roth IRA is that it offers a level of flexibility that other retirement accounts simply don't. You can withdraw your contributions, the actual money you put in, at any time for any reason without penalty or taxes. That means even though you're putting money into a long-term retirement account, if you wanted to pull out the principal you put in, you can do that at any time without any tax consequences. This makes the Roth IRA an incredibly versatile tool. It serves as a retirement account first, but in a true emergency, it can act as a backup layer of security beyond your emergency fund. For the current tax year, if you're under the age of 50, you can contribute a maximum of $6,500 per year into this account. If you're over 50, the IRS allows a catch-up mechanism that increases your limit to $7,500 per year. It's important to note that you do need to contribute with after-tax dollars, meaning your money has already been taxed before it goes into the account. That's the trade-off. The government gives you the tax benefit on the back end, they tax you on the front end, so that when you withdraw, it's all yours. In a traditional IRA, it's the complete opposite. You get a tax deduction up front, but you pay ordinary income taxes on every dollar you withdraw in retirement. Personally, I would much rather pay taxes up front when I'm working and in my earning years than pay them when I'm old and I really want that money to be working for me, not the government. With the Roth IRA, you're essentially locking in today's tax rate on a relatively small amount of money, allowing decades of growth to be entirely tax-free. And that's a trade-off that can pay off enormously over time. Step number 5 is to put money aside for necessities: mortgages, transportation, food, healthcare, utilities, and so on. We're not talking about fancier items here. For example, everybody drinks water. You need that to stay alive. Now, I have this empty glass of San Pellegrino sparkling water. This is an option for a fancier type of water, but it's an unnecessary expense that's really going to do the same job as this tap water I have in this bottle. Same thing with gifts to family and friends. You don't really need gifts to stay alive. That is not a necessity. The idea here is that you want to prioritize putting money aside just for basically getting by. Now, this bare minimum number is going to be different for everyone depending on your cost of living. Ideally, this is going to be less than 50% of your gross paycheck per month so that we can flow money into the other steps. Step number 6 is to make sure that a percentage of your paycheck is being set aside and allocated into your retirement fund. Here in the United States, we have employer-sponsored 401k plans. In the UK, they have workplace pensions. In Australia, they have superannuation. And in Canada, they have RRSPs. In any case, you want to be saving a percentage of every single paycheck into your retirement. A recommended goal by many financial experts is to save roughly between 6 and 12% of every paycheck. It's even better if you can get that deducted before you even see it. That way, it's hopefully tax deductible and you won't be tempted to spend it. Another perk of the 401k is that oftentimes an employer will match your contribution up to a certain amount. Let's say you make $100,000 a year, and your employer matches up to 3%. That's $3,000 of free money. That is always something you want to take advantage of because that is literally the best return on investment possible. Now, I'll be honest with you, I know this might get me a little roasted in the comments, but in my opinion, a 401k is a type of forced savings account, and for most people, that is actually a good thing. Most Americans save between 4 and 5% of their gross income versus other countries where people save 30, 40, or even 50%. 64% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, so forced savings is probably a pretty good idea for the majority of people. That said, personal finance is personal, and I want you to think for yourself. Let's do some math. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median income in the U.S. is about $55,000 a year. If you set aside 10% of your pre-tax income for retirement, that's $5,500 a year. Contribute that to your 401k and give it 35 years to grow at the average S&P return of 8% a year, and it should be well over $1 million by the time you retire. So if you're thinking about foregoing your 401k, that's the benchmark you'd have to beat. If you can't say with 95% or more certainty that you can make more than that on your own in 35 years, just stick with the 401k. And that's the full breakdown of where I put my money every paycheck. If you aren't getting to the later steps, it's possible you might not be making enough money just yet, or you're having a hard time saving. If that's the case, you might want to consider a side hustle to make some extra cash and invest it into yourself and your own skills. That way, hopefully, you can get promoted or land a higher paying job. I hope this was helpful. Make sure to subscribe, follow me on Instagram. See you in the next video. Peace.